Well, welcome back everyone. And I think I may have found a rangefinder that's actually worth your money. Today we'll be taking a look at the Maven Optics RF1 7x25. And this is actually a rangefinder that can do long range. Crazy, I know. Let me show you. All right, so first off, there are a whole lot of rangefinders on the market. And I've seen and reviewed quite a lot of them with their gimmicky whatnots and purposely hamstrung features. Like rangefinders that max out at 800 yards, and then they expect you to pay $1,500 to get anything that goes beyond that. Or other ones say they calculate for wind, but then just add a 10 mile an hour per wind adjustment to every shot. It's not very helpful. I'm gonna be totally honest that I'm pretty annoyed with how many rangefinders that are over $500 that are just total and absolute crap. And there is nothing more baffling than spending $500 just to find out your fancy rangefinder doesn't even have the proper illumination to be used in daylight. So that brings us to our Maven RF1, and we can do some tests on it and see how it does today. But I've been burned a few times, so seeing an unknown name makes me a little bit more skeptical, but I'm hopeful. So then, who the heck is Maven? Maven is a higher-end optics and gear company that is built for the hunter looking to use premium products without the premium cost. They do sales with customers directly to drive the prices down and cut out the middleman, allowing you to have Japanese glass and a bunch of other higher-end features without the same price as the whole competition. Well, I don't know. That's the idea anyway. We'll see if it's actually functional. So then, what makes the RF1 rangefinder special compared to all the other rangefinders? Well, let's start out right here. Check this out. The Maven gives us a maximum range of 4,500 yards off reflective targets. And I need you to be aware of the marketing tricks that other people use on rangefinders. Like, they'll have a model number that'll be like ABC 1800. So then the idea from a marketing standpoint is that they're gonna think that you've been tricked into thinking that you can actually range out to 1800 because it's an 1800 in the name of the model number. But in reality, that's reflective targets, and deer and other smaller targets are usually half that number. But even with that, that means the Maven RF1 gives us a distance to trees of 3,000 yards and a distance to deer-sized targets out to 2,700 yards. And all of that with an accuracy of plus or minus 1 yard when measuring out to 2,000 yards. Now, it doesn't have any of that BDC bullet crap that really doesn't work well outside of, I don't know, Instagram. A ballistic app on your phone like Strelok Pro does a lot better anyway, where you can throw in your specific reticle for your setup. But what the Maven RF1 lacks in useless functions, it actually makes up for in pure, just raw range finding capability. I mean, if this thing is as good as the specs say, I'm gonna be impressed. So today, let's look at what all comes in the box, walk through the various menu options, and then do a series of tests that include ergonomics, reticles, illumination, close range testing, and long range distance testing. And then we'll end up like normal with some final pros and cons, and I'll tell you if I like it. But tell you what, let's get started and let's see everything that comes in the box. Okay, so here's our Maven rangefinder box. Looks like it comes in a pretty simple little carton here. I like the little black with a little logo on there. Let's go ahead and get this out. If I can just get this. You just gotta work it. You just work the side. Oh, we'll skip that. You gotta work the sides. Okay, so we open this up, and here we are. This some simple packaging is easy. Got this cool little Maven like letter kind of thing in here. What exactly is this? Okay, so here's the actual instructions. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time here because we're gonna go over all of this in detail. But if for some reason you want to reference anything that's in the actual instructions, I'll make sure to show it here so you can read up on it if you want to pause the video or whatever you want to do. But like I said, most of this is pretty obvious, and we're going to go through it all. And okay, yeah, that's it. So we'll just put this down here. All right, so let's open this up. And look, this is pretty simple and easy. I like this. So here's our little sleeve that everything comes in. We got our rangefinder in here. But wait, hold on a minute. Look at this sleeve this comes in. This is super nice. I'm definitely going to keep hold of this, but yeah, put that to the side for now. So here's our Maven RF1. I really, really like these orange accents. You can also get them in gray. I think this is the illumination control. We'll go through all this, but I think you do the illumination and control the menus from the side here. And this is kind of like how you choose which kind of ranging setting you want to have. We'll play with all that and figure it out. And here's the actual ranging button at the top. Super easy to use. I like that so far. That's pretty cool. And then looks like where we connected our lanyard right here. Oh, check this out. We hook in a tripod. I hate the stupid ones that make you pay for that to get an attachment piece. It looks really nice though. Oh, look at this. So the diopter piece, it like clicks in and out. Look at that. It goes to each little set position. That's pretty neat. Like it locks in and out. All right, and I'm assuming this is our actual battery tray. There was a little warning that said you have to remove this little piece. Oh, there it is. So when you get it, make sure you remove this little plastic bit, or obviously it's not going to work. So we'll take that little red piece out of there, and then we'll put our little cover back on. Well, I'll show you the way the battery's oriented, just in case you're curious if you have to replace it as a CR123A battery, and then we can just tighten it back down and kind of see how it all goes together. All right, well, I think that's it for this. Let's see what else is in the box. So here we have this little Maven thing. What's in here? Okay, so here's the actual lanyard. So if you want to, you could pull out the lanyard and you could connect it in where we showed earlier if you wanted to have a lanyard for some reason. But yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, one piece I missed. This is actually a focus ring to actually focus the image. That's wild. Now, I bet you Joe enjoyed that simple unboxing, and it does show you that you can have a really good product. You don't have to have a bunch of insane marketing packaging in order to put it all together. But tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and throw up the spec sheet so that we can have that to reference as we go forward. First, we have our range distances that we mentioned earlier, along with all the other data and doodads that you may wanna read, but you're too lazy to go to the website. All right, let's see if I can show you the different controls and menu functions. Here, I'll start with showing what's on the outside. The large dial increases and decreases illumination, so you have a rapid means of adjusting illumination if it's required. And oftentimes this feature can be totally buried, so I tip my hat already having this feature right here and easy to be controlled on the unit. Also on the side of the housing near the illumination nod is the selector for the forest and field setting. Think of this like first and last if you're familiar with rangefinders. If you want targets in front of larger targets, set it to field or first. If you want targets behind larger targets, forest or last. I'm sure you'll get it, and if you don't, the switch is right here. Moving on the top of the rangefinder is the actual rangefinding button. The button is raised and easy to locate. I found having it raised up was a lot more useful when trying to use this with a gloved hand. And a lot of other rangefinders use recessed buttons, and that definitely makes it more challenging. Now, there aren't any fancy whiz-bang grippies and whatnots on the button, but hey, it's a button. You don't need to gussy it up. You can also hold down the button to enter scan mode to read some trickier distances. Moving back on the housing, we see our diopter. This works really great by giving you a very tactile clicking points to move between the various settings. In reality though, it may be kinda useless, as you really want it all the way out if you're not using glasses and all the way in if you have glasses on. Now, it works really well, and I like how it locks into position. I just don't know who's using those in-between ranges, but I don't know. I don't use glasses, so maybe some of you glasses folks are just super excited about this. Another bit hidden on the outside is this knurled focus ring. This allows you to adjust the focus of the target in the distance so you can see more clearly and get a proper distance measurement. And I don't think I've seen a focus ring on a rangefinder before. I think the other high-end rangefinders are just assuming you're hoping and praying that you can acquire an 800-yard target with a 100-yard focus. And some of these things are small, but we're already seeing that Maven is actually designing this rangefinder for, and hold your breath here, actually range finding at distance. Back to the housing though, as we showed in the unboxing, the battery is located under the eyepiece along with the lanyard attachment. You can actually find the tripod attachment built into the bottom of the rangefinder also. Again, I don't know if you're aware how incredibly useful it is to have a tripod mount when you're actually trying to range some seriously long distances. And yeah, those other high-end rangefinders I've looked at, yeah, they don't have this. Well, they do, but you gotta pay extra. And there's nothing like that punch in the face of having to pay an extra $100 just for a tripod mount. Sig, that's some ridiculous shit. I'll say that right now. One of the coolest features is that the menu button is right on the side of the rangefinder. You just press this to begin cycling to the first feature, which is the brightness control. Now, this is already on the knob, so this is kind of redundant. Let's just press the mode button again and see what functions next. The next menu setting is the choice of ranging style. You can choose between LOS, which is line of sight, or angle adjusted range. Now, line of sight gives you both the distance and the actual angular measurement, so those people putting the data into an actual ballistic app may find line of sight to be better because then you can just throw everything into the actual app. But like in archery, I want the pure distance. To demonstrate this difference, I'll aim off my deck in line of sight mode. Here you see it gives you a reading from the deck to the ground and also the angle it was measured at. Swapping to the angle adjusted range, we see the rangefinder makes the same measurement but calculates the distance as just 1 yard. Because it's really just 1 yard between you and the target, actually on the ground. And from an archery standpoint, the difference between those two pins is going to be quite substantial. So you may want to pay attention to that. For ballistics, I don't know. It wouldn't really matter. It just depends on how you're using your app. Going back to our settings again though, if we press the menu button again, we have the ability to swap between various reticles. Here you can see the different options of the dot and hashes, just the hashes, just the dot, the diamond, or diamond and hashes. And having it all easy to change by just like pressing 2 buttons and then cycling through is really awesome if you want a different reticle. I prefer the dot and hashes because I'm just familiar with it, but I think if I went to some longer distances, I would probably want to have the actual diamond reticle. Hitting the menu button again, we get the next option that lets us swap between yards and meters. And this setting is particularly useful if you have a scope like our Primary Arms PLXC 1-8 M8 meters that has all the BDC measurements in meters. Having to swap between different measurements for various optics or whatever I'm doing is actually pretty common for me, so I really like the ability to swap these really easily. Well, though, that's all our menu settings. It's got all the goods and none of the bloat. So then let's begin our tests, and we'll start first with ergonomics. Now, the Maven RF1 was obviously designed for a right-hander, so I'll use it as such, and the housing fits great in the hand with a catch at the bottom to keep your thumb in position and keep the rangefinder from falling back in your hand, which ends up with a very natural position to be able to press the rangefinding button without having to look at it. But the smartest bit is having the knob and selector right at your thumb. You can rapidly change the brightness or swap between field and forest ranging modes. And you can tell this rangefinder was designed to be used very quickly without having to fumble through a whole bunch of menus and apps and stuff. But if you did need to make a menu setting change, you just press the menu button and rotate the knob to make super fast adjustments. It's like this rangefinder was actually designed for the user and not designed to pack in as many gimmicks as possible. All right, let's do the next test and look at the illumination. With so many duds in this area of $500 plus rangefinders, it's amazing to see functional illumination. The quick adjustment dial on the side allows for you to change between the modes, and there are actually 5 modes that range from super dim to use at dawn and dusk to easily readable daylight bright settings. This is incredible, and I'll honestly tell you that I think illumination is really that linchpin that makes the whole rangefinder works well. All right, though, let's move on to our next test and do some short range testing. Testing this, I found the Maven RF1 can read a minimum distance of 4.5 yards when using the line of sight setting and can read all the way down to 1 yard when using the angle adjusted range. And my archers out there are going to be the ones that are going to want that super close range, so you're going to want to have that angle adjusted mode anyway. And yes, going all the way down to 1 yard is amazing. And really, understanding like the physics and the distance of everything when you have a target right beneath your stand can be super confusing, so I love how it makes this all simple so you really know where to put all your pins when you're actually shooting at that distance. All right, though, I've been saving the best one for last. Let's do the long range testing. Here I had some of the best performance to date with the rangefinder. All of the close range targets were incredibly easy, and then pushing the rangefinder out a bit, hitting 800, 900 yards was an absolute breeze. Going out to some of the further distances of 1,000 yards definitely needs a tripod to measure cleanly, but I was able to use it in just my hand and use the scan functions to return some really amazing distances. Here I was able to reach out and pretty quickly measure 1,300 yards. And let's see if I see this building with the flag on it way out there. And yeah, we have 1,900 yards with no difficulty. For those longer distances, I did find it was more useful to use the actual scan mode, but I did read that 1,900 without a tripod or anything. So let's move into some pros and cons. And the first pro is the absolute powerhouse range-finding power that this thing has. With the Maven RF1, you trade off gimmick features for a rangefinder that can do exactly what it does well, and that's range find. From 1 yard to 3,000 yards, I had no issue in measuring targets. I was particularly blown away as the range became further and the Maven didn't even skip a beat. And all the other rangefinders in the same price bracket barely work after 800 yards. All right then, the next pro is definitely that illumination. As the backbone to the entire rangefinder, the illumination of the Maven RF1 is phenomenal in that it can operate on extremely bright days and then get dim enough to not blow out the viewfinder in low light situations. It's just functional, and while that should be a given, I've seen enough of these higher end rangefinders to tell you that it's not. All right, for the next pro is definitely the functions and the controls. The side control knob makes all the illumination even easier to use, as you can just flick the wheel if you're set to high and the sun has gone down and you need to lose some brightness. Because ranging a target at dusk and then fumbling through 10 menus because the illumination is too bright is absolutely not ideal. The addition of the focus ring along with the tripod mount makes ranging targets at distance an absolute breeze. And it's all included without charging an extra $100. Well, I know we all love to be nickeled and dimed, right? All right, so what about cons? Well, it's not lightning fast. The return on the ranging distance is quick, but not instantaneous like some of the other models in the same category. But in terms of speed, we're talking about fractions of a second. And I'm really just trying to find some cons here, to be honest. In reality, this thing absolutely kicks ass. I guess I would want a left-handed version though. Now, I probably wouldn't waste the money to manufacture this or recommend it, but as a lefty, my hand covers up most of the controls and I just adapt and use it right-handed. And again though, I'm just really scraping the barrel for cons here, as the Maven RF1 really does live up to its spec sheet. And I really fell in love with this rangefinder during this testing, and I was just blown away by the sheer range-finding power. I found I liked the removal of all the extra useless features for a rangefinder that instead focuses on being the absolute best at ranging, and then just executing that in an amazing housing with easy-to-use controls. And I had not really heard of Maven before, but they're definitely on my radar now. And you'll see a lot more of this rangefinder as I review the millions of scopes that I owe you. And you'll also see if the Maven RS1 2.5 to 15 with its amazing Japanese glass does just as well as this little rangefinder does. But I hope this review of the Maven RF1 was useful in your purchasing decisions. I want to say thanks to all of our Patreon supporters and all of our YouTube members. You make all this possible that we get to see all this stuff and test everything out, and I absolutely love you for it. And I want to say thanks to everyone that likes, comments, and subscribes. Comment down below what your thoughts are on this Maven RF1. All right, everyone, wash out. What am I doing? I'm trying to range the moon. I think I can do it.